Hey friends, it's been a little while. Had a crazy October and well, October wasn't crazy. It was just busy. We did a week in California with the family as a family vacation kind of thing and visited relatives and friends, and that whole month was like between homeschooling and prepping and leaving on the trip and coming back and recovering from that like zonked me. I just didn't feel up to doing videos and it was too unfocused to really do much more than what I was doing. I was doing readings on the app I work on, but yeah, I'm sorry. The not doing videos didn't really wasn't really capable of doing it. Right now, I'm partially getting back into this because I'm a little worried about my mother. She lives in Northern California in Chico, actually, and really, she's supposedly was evacuated last night, but they made her leave her cats behind, and we don't have family nearby there. She's by herself. She's in like an assisted living, but she's still able to go out and work a few times a week. So, and she's like the youngest person there. So they evacuated her assisted living establishment because I guess it was near the side of Chico that would be hit by the fires. So, um, why do you mean why did they evacuate her or why did they make her leave her pets behind? uh, hey Bella, uh, I am not really sure all the details. She barely had some time to call me to let me know what was going on, and like an hour before she called, my mother-in-law who lives in Utah, um, yeah, she's the one who's like, "Hey, is your mom okay?" And at that point, my mom hadn't contacted me, or no, she had contacted me and said, "Hey, there's a fire, and we got some residents from Paradise coming to us as a place to stay." And then within a few hours after that, she was being evacuated because I think again, their place was near the side of town that the fires was going to come to. I got on this morning and it looks like they contained it around Chico, but I'm pretty sure they want people away from there because of the smoke. Um, I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I mean, I only read a couple articles and I'm not a person that watches the news. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised about an earthquake because I lived in California for a long time and that was like a regular thing around seasonal shifts. I don't know if people track that, but uh, I've always noticed earthquakes have certain patterns. At least the ones I noticed do. So, yeah, between well, yeah, the bay always gets hit. The bay is like along fault lines, on fault lines, literally. Um, Even if they don't get a major one in the bay, they feel them. They feel the tremors. If whether they get the quake or whether it's just the tremors, they always get something. It's not a very safe place to live. I often thought that the European settlers that came in and tried to make permanent uh, homes a thing were vastly mistaken. That the nomadic tribal peoples had it right that you move during certain seasons for safety and availability of food and all that kind of stuff. But I guess not everybody can be travelers, so to speak. Yeah, I'm not in California myself. I'm in, as you know, I'm in I'm in the base here up in Washington, but I know that there's some fault line stuff up here too. But my mom's the one down in California, as you know. Um, but yeah, I just want to like yeah, yeah, we've got some prep stuff here. It's kind of hard not to learn a bit of prepping when you've lived in Utah because it's like a major prep zone. Like prepping is like a way of life out there. So, um, yeah. And we've looked at the routes that we should take should there be emergency things here. That's one of the first things we looked into when we were picking an area to live in. And yeah, and it's good to not just have a bag, but like, honey, you're making things shift. So I had to move things. My son's sitting on the other side. We're still waking up. The boys are, anyways. I've been up for a little bit. Um, yeah, that I would just want to like say to all of y'all out there, you know, us pagans, let's be sending that healing, supportive light or whatever. No light. I actually was thinking I'm not going to do any candle rituals during this fire stuff because I think that's sending the wrong energy. I'm more of a water person, anyways, earthy water person. Uh, so I put out a bowl with some calming protective herbs in it, um, warmed it to enthuse the fragrance, and asked that Mother Earth do what she needed, but harm as few as possible. Um, this is also a fire elemental situation, so or a fire. I always have issues with elemental, but anyways, this is a fire being consciousness that's gotten to have a great feast, so to speak. And usually they're not aiming at anything, they're just going where the fuel is, right? They're going where the food is. And the only thing you can do in those situations is get out of the way. So that's why we're hearing people evacuating and everything ahead of time, because there's uh, only people trying to do that will really be able to make any kind of stand if they're going to try that at all. I'm not saying to do that, but yeah. Well, of course, yeah, there's a lot of imbalance. It's been very dry in California, so we can't expect anything but some natural, I should say, natural disasters to be happening right now. But yeah, we've got some stuff packed still from our trip that we've been slowly cleaning and going through and stuff. Up here, we're very wet. I don't feel that we have as much of a threat of fire up here in Washington, but I've contacted my brother. His location would be easier for my mom to adapt to if for some reason she needs to move out of state or go someplace else if the place she's living at gets damaged. Um, we're praying that her pets will be safe because they wouldn't let them. She doesn't drive. She doesn't have a car, so they in living in that assisted home, all she could do was put out water and food for them as much as she could, and make sure there was like she said, she's leaving the toilet lid up so they can access water there. She said she cleaned out their litter stuff to make sure it was as fresh as it could be so that they would be able to be in their space. Luckily, the building, the back end that's closest to what would be Bidwell Park, which is a park that goes through a certain almost, I want to say the center of town, but it goes into part of the town, Chico, part of the city. But and it's connected up into the forest. So yeah. Oh, earthquakes. Yeah, I I get it. I know what you're saying. The earthquakes, the ocean plates, the fault lines. I know that's our thing to deal with here. Totally get it. Yeah. Like I said, when we first were even considering moving here, we did a lot of research on prepping, knowing where the safe routes were, all that kind of stuff. And even this area that we chose actually is less likely to get hit by tsunamis or any of that because we're in an inner bay. And the way the title pushes, it shows that this will be the least to none affected by the water in the bays here. So that was one of the reasons we considered this area. So yeah, but where you're at, you're way closer to the ocean than I am, right, Bella? I mean, you're a skip and a jump from, isn't it Ocean Shores or something like that? Yeah. And we're more inland. Yeah, we're by the bays, but we're like not right on it. We're a bit in. So, yeah. And I was raised in California and lived some here too and other places. I'm used to dealing with earthquake situations. I know it could be so big. I mean, that's the thing. If it is a huge, huge earthquake, there's only so much people can do, you know? And we just got to focus on what we can do and knowing as much as we can to get us through those um, nature's changes, and live as what do I want to say, as as well as we can to be in balance with nature as possible, supportive of it, helpful of it as possible, um, which is not how everybody views life. A lot of pagans do, but not all. Even not all pagans are in line. We just have a reverence for and a respect for the natural forces. And yeah, I just felt like I hadn't been on for a bit. I needed to get back to doing videos. I didn't intend for it to be uh, about this, but it happened. So I was like, eh. um, so like I said, I personally did more of a non-fire, um, ener- like supportive energy calming protection spell. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It definitely will affect inwards. I mean, when you live in different areas, like say Florida, thank you. I appreciate that. Bella, thank you. When you live in places like Florida, they have like, you know, tw- uh, not tornadoes, hurricanes, and they go through this kind of devastation yearly, right? You prep for that kind of lifestyle of that you accept the area that you live in has certain inherent dangers for the biozone you live in, right? Or the zone you live in. And you prep for those things. You educate yourself about those things so you can deal with it as best you can. So I'm not downplaying what you're saying at all, Bella. I do get that we live in a earthquake is one of our big challenges and prep things to focus on here. Um, but honestly, certain aspects of what we need to prep for is really some of it is luck. Some of it is, or not even luck. Some of it is right place, right time. Some of it is, uh, I totally get it. I want everybody to be as safe as possible, but when we live in areas that we know are more dangerous or more reactive or sensitive to nature changes, then we just have to prepare ourselves as best we can for them, and then hold ourselves as support for those who are in areas that are active while our areas are safe at the moment, and hope that they will send us the support we need when our areas are in a state of change and transformation. Um, this drought weather in California has been ongoing. And the crazy thing is my mom, before we actually visited through California in October. It was the week before Shawan week, and everything was fine. It was beautiful. I got to visit Chico and some places I hadn't seen for years. I wish I had gone to Paradise because I actually lived in Paradise, and went to high school there. And now the city, from what I understand, is gone. It's destroyed, completely destroyed. And that was probably my last chance to visit all my old haunts from high school and college. Um, but yeah, Paradise totally gone. From what I understand, even the hospital, Feather River, took damage. I think it's called Feather. It's been a while since I've been back. Um, I heard the town hall, major businesses, homes, everything just gone, burnt down. Like, I'm not sure about town hall completely burnt down, but they said the whole city basically is destroyed. So um, I will be watching for I don't watch the news either. I went online and just looked at a couple of YouTube videos and I read the articles that they were posting. Um, it it's just, yeah, and when I remember when the tsunamis were hitting, I wasn't watching any news then either, and I was getting all kinds of crazy ass dreams about water and engulfing the land, animals running days ahead, hours ahead before the tsunamis hit over in South Asian countries down that way. Um, and being compelled to look up and see. Also, around that same period, there had been power outages on the East Coast in the US. And I had had dreams about people being stuck in places because the powers were out and they had no light. And all around the same time periods, it was pretty crazy. So it's weird. I have been having trouble sleeping and even some other issues this past week. And then when my mother-in-law called concerned about my mom, and when my mom called, um, the pressure that I had had on my head all day lifted. Like I had pressure across my forehead into my ears. All of it lifted within that hour that I heard from both of them, and started focusing on the fire area and did this spell work and for protection and all that stuff. It was like I had felt a change. And I had been going about my business despite being physically uncomfortable yesterday because I had to get the kids to their, when my sons had a class, we had regular things we had to do. I even did errands, all feeling very off. Yeah. Yeah. And being as sensitive in these times, I mean, everybody, every single one of us, whether we acknowledge or not, have some sensitivity. And those of us who are maybe more on the more vulnerable side of sensitivity are definitely being affected, not just by the fire areas, but I noticed that there was other areas going on as well. This isn't just one area having some kind of natural disaster type thing going on. It's a big one here in the US, but and it's interesting how those of us who are sensitive to that kind of thing have different parts of the body that respond intuitively to these things. Um, I'm not very good at tracking it, but but I have noticed the patterns. And I was even going, okay, like I want to check in. I like using my oracles or some sort of divination source, including my intuition, and just feel for, like, I when my mom called, I was like, okay, you're gonna be okay. I have a really strong feeling the cats will be okay as long as you leave them enough food and water. Mostly you're leaving because I feel people will have respiratory issues due to the heavy smoke and stuff. So yeah, those of you who are sensitive, if you focus on the area, you can get a sense of where safety or concern is. I remember when I was even a teenager, I actually a preteen. Do you remember the San Francisco Dodgers? I think it was like the big game, the big one. And then the layers of the freeways fell and everything happened back then, right? During that earthquake, I had so many intuitive hits going off back then, and I wasn't even pagan yet then. And I was watching, it was the Dodgers, whatever the major baseball game is that they do yearly. I was watching that. I used to know it, but it's been so long now. I'm not much of a sports person. And the TV went to snow, and I said, "That's an earthquake. That's a full on earthquake there, and it is bad. It is very bad." My mom was like, "Yeah, whatever. It'll come back on in a little bit." And I I was like, "I know. I'm telling you, it's an earthquake." And then within 5 minutes, the news came on or the radio. There was like so many things going off saying, major. whatever level earthquake it was, um, streets falling, all this stuff going off. And my mom just stared at me for like a solid minute, going, okay, an earthquake. And I was like, I told you. um, so I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying these things are felt. And when I was younger, before I would even felt it, I was really good about watching the animals in the area and seeing how they were reacting in their daily lives. And that's a really good way to get a heads up that something's coming. Because even if it isn't hit your area yet, the animals will feel it. And Eric, you're like hitting where I have this placed. Move. You're hitting the area. You're moving this camera. So you can focus on higher power. I connect down to Mother Earth. I don't go up. I go around and all around me. If you work with a higher power and that helps you with your sensory connections and looking for protection or support, you go where you need. I tend to connect more locally. Even ancestors or nature spirits nearby. I tap into Mother Earth herself, not to drag her from what she's doing, but just to feel for what she can share so that I can understand and maybe help guide if needed during those times. I feel sometimes if you're not in a danger zone, you do not need the attention, right? You want to send out that energy to push for more support into those areas. And building up your relationship with spirit, nature, spirit, skies, allies, and Mother Earth herself is a good way to help lend that healing, supportive, protective energy out. Because it isn't the point to distract from the situation, it's the point to raise awareness and focus. Yeah, Bella, if people work with higher self consciousness, yes. I I'm very rooted in the physical, connecting with Mama Gaia, Danu, Earth, whatever you call her, nature herself, um, the land, sea, and sky. Fire to me is another consciousness, another form of of the currents and energy that carries spirit, and it's one of the living elementals, if you want to think of it that way, because it eats and devours, and um, it transforms. It transforms, and it is a cleanser as well. And right now, that fire, as devastating as it is also releasing seeds and activating things that have been dormant for so long that needed another chance. So thanks, Bella. You guys, I appreciate it. Like again, this is kind of like a check-in, getting back connected, and just raising awareness and a few thoughts and how we can think differently on this, and support to those who are in this situation, to our pagan community that's out there. I know there's a druidic order out there and some craft people out there who are being displaced, and their sanctuaries are probably, oh my God, probably destroyed at this point. But it's a transformation, and just keep yourself safe while this is happening, and know that you're in our thoughts and that we're sending as much comfort and support as we can, and hopefully we'll soon have ways to actively support you. Connect with, what is it, the services, I'm trying to think, not FEMA, it's something else. I heard that there's a list up that there, so people can try to contact each other, and look for your loved ones through that way first. Don't be trying to rush toward the danger areas. I've heard some people saying they needed to go look for their family and their states away, and it's like, no, don't go right now. It's not safe to go right now. You're going to cause more chaos. Keep yourself safe. Be ready to take in people, possibly. Be ready to send what is needed and find out what's being set up and what is going to be needed to help with this disaster, with this burn that's happening. All right. Blessings, the triple realms. May nature spare us too much pain in her need to balance. And just understand that this is not a vicious act. It's simply a reaction to how the balance is right now in the area that this natural disaster has taken place. Protection and love to all. Peace.